Testing. Test, test, test. Testing. Test, test, test.
The All-Star game is tonight, right? Or is that tomorrow night? John, All-Star game, is that tonight or tomorrow night?
Tonight.
Yeah.
Starts in a half an hour. June, how many years have you been a resident? 5? Okay. I had a very nice relationship with Dick and Elaine Kiercutter, the parents. She was Ellie Peterson.
Ken Gardner, can you hear me now?
No.
No.
2001, Mike Kowal.
Oh, now yours is on.
Yeah. 2001.
Hello, stop, no, shh. Yeah, it's working now, it's working too well. So, turn it down. Turn it down, down. Okay. Folks in the back row, you can hear me, right? Yeah, I can hear it too. Does everybody else need to do a check or no?
Jack?
Check.
Check. They're coming across. Check.
No, not
Yours
you.
is not, yeah.
Yours is not.
Jack, Hungarian.
Huh.
Is yours working, Bob?
Yeah, ours is working. Bob is working. John is working.
Is everyone turned on?
Yeah.
They're not on there.
Press the red button.
Is that working?
Hello.
No, just scratch. Yeah, that's me. It works.
That's right.
Sound like it.
So the podium is not working.
I don't hear it here.
Okay, she's got it.
What number is that?
So,
Try
What?
again. Yeah, that's working.
so why don't you take one of the chiefs?
Hello?
It's working
That's working,
now?
yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, I heard you.
Okay, that's working now. How about that? Why?
There you go.
Magic. Did you duplicate that? Yes.
All righty then. Okay, well, lost a couple minutes. That's all right. Good evening. The Charter Township of Plymouth Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, July 13th, 2021 will come to order at 7:03. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Stewart.
Here.
Trustee Monahan.
Here.
Clerk Borba, here. Trustee Dorchevitz.
Here.
Trustee Kerming.
Here.
Treasurer Clinton.
Here.
Supervisor Heisler.
Here.
All present, we have a quorum.
Okay, item B is Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Monahan, why don't you lead us tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and item C is approval of the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, July 13th, 2021.
Motion made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Monahan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item D is approval of the consent agenda.
I have 2 or 3 questions on it.
Okay.
You want me to do them now?
Yep.
Yes.
Fire department, CPR classes, are they offered as you're doing one-on-one CPR classes?
Typically, we
May others
don't.
participate?
Typically, we try to do them once a month, but in certain instances, we only get one person. Typically, the one-on-ones were nurses at St. Mary's Hospital.
So if somebody wants to take a CPR class from the Township of Plymouth, is there a sign-up sheet on the website, or how do you do it?
They call our administrative assistant. We've been running it for about 5 or 6 years now. We try to do them on a monthly basis, but again, with COVID, we've been making special things for nurses and healthcare professionals so they can get their qualifications back up.
Okay, second question is a financial one. Page 76 of, the last page of the check run. I've never seen a list like this. What does a GL activity report mean, or what is it?
General ledger.
General ledger, okay. And these are the sum of the checks, or all, or just a subset of the checks that were
Issued.
produced? So what is the criteria for making this list versus what's in the bills?
Just a backup.
It's, it does appear to
Because
be,
it's a subset.
Yes.
It's to be less than the total bills.
Yes.
it appears to be professional and contractual
Contractual
services.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. That's what's the differentiator. It's
Yeah.
all professional.
Yep.
Consulting. Okay, all right, I understand. I had never noticed it before.
I have,
It may be a new thing that Ginger's putting in there for, just for
Yeah, okay,
more
there it is.
information.
Yeah, you got it.
Bob, did you have something?
yeah, on the minutes on page 8, there was a typo.
Okay.
That recent Margate church that was granted approval, it should say the Margate
Margate
Development.
Development,
Development, okay. Page 8, got it.
page 8.
Noted.
Okay, anything else? All right, then I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Supervisor?
Mr. Clerk?
I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, July 13th, 2021.
Motion is made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Monahan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Item E is public comment, limited to 3 minutes. This will not be your only opportunity during the evening. There will be another public comment opportunity at the end of the meeting, and we do encourage public comment on individual agenda items as long as they are germane to that particular topic. So, does anybody want to come forward at this time? Okay.
Eileen Coleman, and
Could you spell your last name, please?
Coleman, Coleman.
Thank you very much.
So I just have some comments. This isn't pertaining to the tree ordinance, and specifically whether or not we are an arbor city or a tree city USA. So I was just wondering, I just have some general comments or questions. Why does this board want Plymouth Township to be designated as a tree city USA? It seems to me that there will be no real change, no measurable change in trees. There will be change in the involvement of government via the creation of a tree board, the collection and necessity of collecting $2 per capita. Could you explain to your constituents why you think this will be of benefit to our community? What changes will we see as we drive around our already beautiful township? And does this have any impact on private property down the road or presently? Does it affect private property? So I read through the, their site, and I tried to figure out like what would change other than a stamp. And
You've gone through their site?
I did, actually. I read
No?
through
I
it.
mean, all I will be able to do is resuscitate what's already on their website.
Yeah, but-
What I do want to clarify, though, one thing that's not accurate is a $2 assessment per person. That is not a requirement of the township board or any other entity.
They
So
think
that's,
they require
that,
$2 per
we
capita?
spend more than $2 a year per person on all sorts of tree-related activities, which includes tree removal, tree uptake, maintenance, things of that nature. It's a per capita formula that's used
Okay.
typically in grant, whenever you apply for any kind of grant.
And I know that in the meeting, they said something that the Environmental Commission mentioned they would be able to get grants, maybe qualify for some grants.
It helps, it assists with grant. If you're going to apply for a grant, it certainly helps. Anytime you can show that you are a member of some kind of organization like the Tree City or the Arbor Day Foundation, it can certainly assist in getting grants.
The question with grants always is a reciprocity, right? So whenever you get something from government, there are usually strings. So I'm just actually assessing the overall, is this beneficial? And that's my question.
Yes.
And that's my question to the board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Hi, I'm June Cutter. Do you need me to spell that?
Please. It just helps
K-I-R.
it helps our secretary.
Kirchga, 2 T's as in Tom, E-R. I've been spelling that for a long time.
They don't feel bad.
Yeah, hang on a minute, if you don't mind, because I go way back, like 37 years, and my wife, we had a wonderful, positive professional relationship with Dr. Dick and Elaine Kirchcutter. And I also had it through politics statewide. So I think you come from great parents. And I'm very thankful that you are willing to offer your opinions tonight.
Thanks, John.
We're not taking away any of your time either. The clock is just starting, so.
Thank you, Supervisor. All right, so I have 6 "Do Not Tread on My Trees" signs in my front yard, which is on 4 acres on North Territorial. And I've attended discussion groups with a number of people who have raised concerns about what was originally, what I think was unconstitutional in the earlier drafts of the tree ordinance. I think I've exchanged emails with about 40 neighbors who are also concerned about the same subject. I've read through probably a dozen tree ordinances from neighboring townships, and I've read the court rulings, both the state and the federal, in which the Canton Township tree ordinance was deemed unconstitutional. And I've also sent emails to most of you with my concerns. And I want to thank several of you who have responded either with a phone call or with a personal email in response. And from what I've seen now with our version 6 of the ordinance, I think you really worked hard to listen to what the constituents were telling you. So, and thank you, Trustee Monahan, because you were one that I did want to thank personally for doing that, as well as Trustee Kermy and Treasurer Clinton and Trustee Stewart. So thank you so much. I think what I've seen here is there was definitely a much improvement made when we got to version 6. I think it really captures the spirit of what the constituents were concerned about, and it shows that you're listening. So thank you very much for doing that. I think we now have, with version 6, an ordinance that still respects the rights of the private property owner, which I think is what most of us were very, very concerned about. But it still protects the green canopy, which I think is how most of this started. And in this entire process, I've never heard anyone say, I just don't like trees. So I think that's the common ground that we all have here. So thank you for getting us to version 6. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else at this time? Okay, what? Okay.
Evening, everyone. I am Mary Lou Stone. I live in the township.
And it's S-T-O-N-E?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Right. And I have a few questions. The tree board members, what qualifies each and every one of them to be members of a tree board?
Is that a question for me?
That's a question for whoever can
Okay.
answer it.
So the Board of Trustees, a couple years ago, created the Environmental Leadership Commission. The individuals serve for, I believe, 3-year terms. They have applied. We have their resumes on file if you would like to see them. A couple of the members, I think at least 4 or 5, are here tonight. These are individuals who have expressed a desire to assist the township in a variety of environmental outreach, leadership, and advice matters, and we appreciate their service. They serve as volunteers, unpaid. They meet once a month, and you were at their last meeting, so you kind of got an idea of what they do.
I did. I would like to know if there is, at this point, an arborist on that tree board?
No, there is not.
If there is not,
No.
excuse me, if there is not, will there be one, and when?
I don't know at this point. We don't have any vacancies on the board at this time. We can certainly try to find somebody if they're willing to volunteer their time, but at this point, we have not designated anybody. We haven't even asked if anybody, I haven't asked if anybody has, if there's anybody in the community who has expressed an interest in that.
Do you not think it would be advantageous to find someone, to actively look for someone?
It might be. It's a great idea. I know, like on our Historic District Commission, we have, one of the positions has to be a licensed architect. So,
Makes sense.
yeah, so, you know, there's, that possibility exists in the future.
And on the board, would you not find it advantageous to have someone representing the builders?
Well, it's not a zoning board or a planning commission or anything like that. We don't designate other individuals like that on that particular commission. These are all individuals who have come forward to volunteer their time and talents. We do have a couple members who I think are from the business community. We have a gentleman who serves, he's with Bosch, which is a big company, and we have others who are, you know, small business people. So, you know, I think we have a pretty diverse group. And all of those individuals are recommended by me, and they're ultimately approved by the board.
And they are representing your constituents, correct?
They are people who have a sincere desire to improve the environment, the quality of life of township residents, and are willing to volunteer their time and talents. They're highly educated. They have they have good ideas, and they have great motivation. And, you know, if you're not getting paid, that's all we ask, you know.
Is version 6 the last revised
I hope
edition?
so. I certainly hope so.
If it is not, and it is revised again, will we see that before the board?
The process of adopting an ordinance is that you have a first reading and a second reading. So tonight is the first reading. Second reading would be in 2 weeks on July 27th. Typically, when an ordinance is drafted for first reading, that is about it should be close to 100% of what you're going to have. But between first and second reading, there can be additional changes, but typically they're non-substantive. They would be clerical, they would be letters, numbering that has to be revamped. I just saw even in the version tonight, there's a couple strike-throughs that I missed. So, you know, it's more of a cleanup between now and in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you, I appreciate your
All righty.
answers.
See you at Rotary. Okay, anybody else? All righty, we're going to move on then to item F1. This is the 2022-24 Household Hazardous Waste Contract. Sarah Weissel is with us here tonight. She's our solid waste coordinator. But we have had some discussions prior to tonight as a board regarding I think the pretty successful household hazardous waste drop-off event that we had back in May. So back in May, we had the event with ERG of Livonia. 1,086 cars were serviced with ERG, collecting 98,830 pounds of hazardous waste and electronics. I had to double check with Sarah to see if that was a typo, but that is not a typo. So I think we had a pretty good year. When we've had household hazardous waste drop-off day in the past, either at the Ice Arena or at TDM, it's been, we've had about 1,100 to 1,200 cars. So for the first year out, this is pretty good. And I think the feedback that I got from residents was very positive. They were very efficient. I dropped stuff off there. I think what people really liked is what Mark Clinton had said when we hired him, that the ease and availability to drop off the waste when it was convenient for you and your schedule. So unfortunately, 38 non-residents slipped through the cracks, but we will not be charged for them. We are going to utilize a mailing list from assessing rather than our normal postal mailing list next year to ensure a more accurate delivery. The Postal Service does the best they can, but as you know, they deliver through carrier routes, and a lot of those carrier routes do bleed into the city of Plymouth. And so we had several city residents, most of those were city residents who got through. So our recommendation is to renew the current contract for a 3-year term based on the original bid numbers that were submitted this year. Sarah gathered those up, and they are in your agenda pack tonight. So if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or Sarah's here to take on anything else. Okay. Any questions, comments in the public at all? Okay, Chuck?
I move to approve resolution, I'll put my, get my microphone on. I move to approve resolution 2021-07-13-46, authorizing the supervisor and clerk to sign a 3-year renewal of the current contract with ERG Environmental for household hazardous waste collection services.
Okay, motion's made by trustee Kermy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Monahan. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Trustee Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Sarah, you're all set.
Thank you, sir.
For all of your hard work, and I will not disclose where you live, but you have been an angel to 3 of the largest precincts in Plymouth Township.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, item F2 is 2021-22 water and sewer uses rate recommendation. Treasurer Mark Clinton.
Thank you. Hopefully this will be brief. My recommendation would be that effective July 1st, 2021, that we maintain the current rate structure for both water and sewer usage. And I can spend just a couple minutes giving you my reasoning behind that. Bob, if you could go up to the next one, which is a spreadsheet. Can you make that a little bigger?
Sure. A lot bigger.
Can you make that a lot bigger? Go down or slide down if you could. And I've got a little pointer here.
Doesn't work. Let me show you. You got it.
Keep going down a little more, please. So this bottom line here, this shows what the rates have been since 2016. And as you can see, in 2016, the rates were decreased, happened to be an election year, but they were decreased by almost 5%. Then they were increased by 7.9% the following year. And then 0, 0, 4%, and 0 would be the recommendation for this year. So since 2015, in the aggregate, we've only increased water and sewer rates by 7%, which comes to like 1% a year, which is, in my opinion, a pretty significant accomplishment. At the same time, when we were maintaining the rates at that level, you can see the cost of our water was going up from $4.2 million per year to about $4.6 million per year. So the GLWA, where we get our water from wholesale, continues to increase their rates. In fact, they increased them again 2% this year. So why are we able to kind of maintain rates at status quo when GLA continues to increase theirs? A couple of reasons for that. The first one is if you take a look at the cost of sewage, right? This is where we use Watua. It went down in 2016 from 3.7 down to 1.9. This is as a result of us moving off of the Wayne County system and onto the Ypsilanti system. So you can see it took place right about there, halfway point, and it's been going down. But we got about all of the savings we're gonna get out of this, and now you can see they're starting to go back up. So we're starting to reach a point where not only are the GLWA rates going to go up at a nominal amount, but the sewer rates are also going to go up as expenses continue to rise. The second point is Watua had a couple bonds that we were paying off, right? Back there was about 3.2 million in 2016. That's down to 1.4 million outstanding this year. Those bonds will be completely disappeared by the end of 2022. So at that point, we'll be able to save that 1.4 million a year. So we've been able to keep our water and sewer rates very reasonable. Even though water rates are going up, we're doing a good job of controlling our costs on the sewer side. One more thing I wanted to point out, though, we do have a couple of projects that are taking place this year. With Tua, about 1.3 million, they're doing an expansion project will be completed by the end of this year, and then you won't see that number again. And we've got about a $1.5 million sewer rehabilitation project taking place. This is as a result of a SAW grant that we had a couple of years ago, and they proposed, they did a really in-depth study to look at our sewer structure to determine where we should be investing, where it needs rehabilitation, where it's going to fail, and what the cause of that failure should be. So we're going to be dipping into our fund balance in water and sewer to the tune of about 1.5 million this year. That's okay, right? We anticipated this was going to happen, and we built up some surplus in the process. So I just wanted to give you that quick explanation to people can understand where all the pieces are moving as to why I'm still recommending that we don't have to increase water and sewer rates this year. Questions, I'll take any questions that anybody might have.
So this requires no action on our part?
No, it's just a motion. There is no resolution, but I just want to
What's the motion?
Just to maintain.
Just to maintain. Okay,
maintain, yeah.
fine.
We don't have to do anything.
We don't really have.
We really don't have to.
Really have.
I don't, what's up there, is it different than what's in here? A couple of numbers?
No,
this is
same
the
numbers.
packet.
Some of the bottom line numbers are right, are the same, but sewer charges on mine says 7.4.
Are you looking at, which one are you looking at, the calculation?
Page 96 of 126. Maybe I'm not reading it right.
You're saying the hard copy's different?
Oh, source of revenue. Okay, I see it. I see it. It's shifted up. All right.
Yeah, scrolled up. It couldn't fit at all. It wouldn't fit.
Yeah, there's the numbers I was looking at. The
Yeah.
top versus in here. Got it.
All good?
I don't think anyone should argue with you, is my opinion.
Well, in that case, I'll just make a quick motion. I move to maintain water and sewer usage rates at their current level of 5.82 per thousand gallons for water consumption and $4.79 per thousand gallons for sewage disposal for the next 12 months effective July 1st, 2021.
Second.
Okay, motion's made by Treasurer Clinton, seconded by Trustee Kermy. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item F3, tree ordinance. I'll just rehash some of my cover memo here. As we know, the current tree ordinance is seriously deficient and vague in many areas. It's based on a state law from 1947. Following our meeting on May 25th, I took the draft that I presented for your consideration and have made numerous changes based on the good faith comments and suggestions made by you, township staff, and members of the public, including our environmental leadership commissioners, who I met with on June 27th. My office also placed draft versions of the tree ordinance in our e-news on Friday, June 18th, and on our township website on June 28th. That has been continuously updated with the last couple of versions that have been drafted. In the end, I believe this latest draft will accomplish most of our objectives, which is replacing our current outdated tree ordinance, respecting the personal property rights of private homeowners, clear guidelines for staff, consultants, and developers, which is badly needed, tree removal requirements limited to developers, incorporating tree infrastructure into the site plan approval process, clear language for trees that may require removal or trimming. And so to clarify, there are no permits required for a private homeowner to remove, plant, or trim a tree. And that was never in the draft ordinance anyway, as far as tree trimming. However, we all must do a better job in educating our residents to determine that trees do positively contribute to our quality of life, property values, economic development, and the brand of our community. When we sell our community to developers, to businesses who want to come here, right now we're dealing with businesses who are trying to relocate here from Ohio or from even from foreign countries. And so it's very important to show these potential residents, businesses who want to come here, that we value our environment, our trees, and and how they contribute to our quality of life. So my charge to the Environmental Leadership Commission, I know several of you are here tonight. They'll be serving as our tree board, and really it's just a designation. You're not getting an extra pay or responsibilities or anything like that. And that the Environmental Leadership Commission and my office, along with our Tree City designation, we'll have to all do a much better job of educating folks on the importance of trees and environmental protection for our community. One of the lessons learned of the last several weeks for me is the fact that we have to, again, just educate folks on the importance of the trees that they have on their private property. Ultimately, you can do what you want with it, but hopefully we can work with developers and individual residents to, if they ask, to see how we can incorporate their tree infrastructure into their landscape and their eventual development. So that's the version number 6. So I'm running out of colors. The last version had green appropriately enough. Some of the green did not translate very well because our printer upstairs is not working the way it should. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. But ultimately, the ordinance in front of you should be the last version. And as I mentioned earlier, there are, if we can fly spec any minor issues, those can be adjusted between now and the second reading, which will be July 27th.
So if we know that there's some typos in here, we can do the reading and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the original draft, I had originally taken the city's ordinance, and then I had taken it, and then I had codified it the way it would look as a township ordinance. So those sections and subsections and paragraphs, I mean, those have been moving around like crazy. I don't say that, I can't tell you with a straight face that they're all exactly where they need to be. So I'm going to rely on you guys and Laura and Kevin to fly spec that, just for,
Well, we can go over the change of the typos and understand those tonight.
Yeah.
So it's clear.
Yeah.
If we'd like to. But if there's something that we miss, is what he's saying. You
Right.
can always,
Well,
you can always correct, you can always correct the typos, or what we call clerical errors and scribblers.
Typically you can't make substantive changes between first and second reading. I've done it. I mean, I've seen it done. I've done it myself, not here, but that's not unusual. You just don't want to abuse it, though.
Okay.
Okay, so comments or questions from the board?
I have a couple of, just understand those, and then some other things. Let's take the easy stuff first. Page 4 of the proposed ordinance, which is the red, blue, green, which is page 113 of the packet.
I have page 103 for page 4.
I have
113?
113.
Oh, I'm sorry.
113 of the PDF.
Oh, the PDF, thank you very much.
Under the bottom, there's a list, and the river birch is in there, and I asked Laura about it this afternoon. Laura, do you have an opinion? River birch works really well in our wet clay soil. People really like them.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be on the recommended no list, but what is your arborist? Did he have anything to say, or she?
Yes, evening trustees. Because it does like the clay soil that's moist, its roots tend to go horizontal as opposed to vertical, which if it's a street tree can pose issues for the sidewalk if it's in the tree lawn. The list of non-recommended trees is cautionary. Perhaps there could be some information in here that states river birch is not ideal for a street tree, but that elsewhere on the property it might be sufficient.
Most river birch is multiple trunks, so that violates the rule for a street tree, because we don't allow, or will not be allowing multiple trunks for a street tree.
Correct.
So by that, river birch will be out on the, not allowed on the street. So that's good, so it'll be taken care of, but I would not, I know we had a resident who was concerned that it was a messy tree. Well, all trees are messy. And had a neighbor that he had to clean up, but this tree works really well in the crummy soil of western Plymouth Township.
So the language says it's not recommended. It doesn't say that it's prohibited.
Yeah.
Right.
But what is it about these particular trees?
Just kind of
Laura,
what
do you
she
want
said.
to?
Horizontal roots
All of them?
and messy.
No, some of these are invasive species
Uh,
and currently prohibited in the ordinance today.
Like a Colorado blue spruce, why is blue spruce not good?
Susceptible to disease.
Yeah.
It's called needle cast. You'll notice it's killing a lot of them off.
Yeah, I lost all of mine.
Fill in mine.
There's nothing that can be done about it.
I've
There's also,
noticed it
Bob, there's
all
a-
over the township.
Yeah.
I'm noticing needle cast.
There's also a list published by the state of Michigan DNR with a list of trees that they recommend not planting in the state of Michigan, and all of these trees are on the DNR's list. I cross-referenced those,
cross-referenced
so,
them,
yeah.
Yeah, Colorado blue spruce, it is surprising, consider how versatile of a tree it's been
They're
for the last
beautiful
50
when they're
years.
healthy. I mean, they're gorgeous trees, but you had some you lost, is that what you said?
Oh, I have one that's dying right now in
One,
my backyard. So we'll take a look at that. I don't have a problem. That was, you are correct, Chuck, that was recommended, I know, by a resident who complained about his neighbor's river birch trees.
Wasn't
Not
my
your neighbor,
neighbor.
is it your neighbor?
You said you have half a dozen of them?
Four.
Four, all right.
Okay.
Anything else?
Going to page 114. In the middle of the page, this is page 5 of the document, of the actual, and page 114 of the PDF. Right
Yes.
there where it says section 98.02,
Yeah.
read that, it just doesn't seem to follow.
2802.
The township reserves the right to remove or cause to be removed any tree or part thereof which is in an unsafe condition as defined in
That's-
9802.
And 98.2 is a list of definitions.
Yes, and one of those definitions in there is
Yeah.
unsafe condition.
Unsafe conditions.
That's the last one.
Let's see, unsafe condition, 98.02.
Right at the
Is it on
You have to
page-
go back
Is it on
to-
page 3?
It's page 3 or
Yeah.
page 102 of 126.
Actually, unsafe,
Unsafe condition.
yeah.
Okay, so it's on page 4. Okay,
Yes.
so
113.
that's what that means. Okay, got it.
Got it? Okay.
Page 6, page 115 of PDF. First sentence. If such expense or charge shall not be paid by the same, the same shall be assessed against the lot. Maybe you need to take some words
I
out.
think that's a typo.
That's a typo. yeah.
Placed on, so we need to get the right word in there. So
Yeah,
what is the right word? Shall be assessed against the lot or placed on the lot?
Where are you at?
Page 6.
Page
At
115,
the
first
top.
sentence. First
The
full
first full sentence.
you're on the,
If,
Yeah, to if.
he's on the marked up version. I just wanted to see if, okay, what's that page again, guys?
It's page
Page
115.
115.
115. If such expense or charge cannot be paid, the same shall be assessed against, yeah, that's a typo.
Cross
what do we
out
want to
place-
say?
cross
Against
Shall
out
be
or
place-
placed
assessed
on?
against the lot
The lot.
or parcels tax roll.
Parcels.
I'll rephrase that, because it's.
Mark will be the one doing it, so maybe Mark, you want to put the word on
Well,
it?
we have it throughout the ordinance, so, for example, in the paragraph below, it says, "The cost thereof may be placed on the lot or parcels tax roll and collected as
That's the way it
provided by
should
the
read,
township charter."
yeah.
That's the way it should read.
Okay, that page,
that's a
and the
typo.
bottom of that page, bottom of 115, the last sentence, the kind of, any owner of any property failing to trim any tree, shrubs, or bushes in conformity with this section or section
Oh, got it.
98.05.
Yep, that's a typo.
And then in the sentence right prior to that, it just says a vertical height of 15 above the road.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
We made it,
We went from 8 to
15.
15.
we went to
miles.
8 to 15.
15.
And
No,
then
it doesn't-
section,
This has to say feet, though.
15 what?
oh,
15
15
feet.
feet, yep,
Yeah.
typo. And then section 9805
Hold on,
is
before you,
struck.
yeah, 9805 is, we're not using that section anymore.
Correct.
We're not.
Correct. We are
So,
not.
with this section, is it a period or there'll be another section?
There will be, it'll be renumbered. It may have, I think I renumbered it in the final version, Chuck.
It may be just a period after the word section, it may not.
You actually had two sections 98.05 pruning and corner clearance on page 6.
Yeah, we're in it.
So what happens is 98, in the final version, section 98.04 is tree maintenance and care. 9805 is now corner clearance. 9806 is tree topping, et cetera. So that's all been changed. That part was changed in the final version.
So now
Because I'm looking at the other mistakes.
Okay, now the word building official by mailing the notice by registered, I would not use registered, I'd use certified, because registered, you actually have to deliver it to the person whose it's addressed to, or they have to go to the post office and pick it up.
Okay.
If they're not.
Certified.
I would say certified from a legal, I think that would be adequate. It would
Yes.
just be delivered to their mailbox, because I hate getting registered mail. I'm not home, then I have to coordinate it going to the post office to pick it up.
Yep.
And you can't send a messenger. You've got to do it yourself.
Right. Okay, I can make that change, and then wherever else it says registered, I can make that certified. No problem.
Page 116, page 7 of the ordinance. First paragraph. Building official may cause the trimming to be done and the cost thereof placed on the lot or parcels.
Yeah, those are typos.
Yeah.
That-
Tax, you're gonna keep the word roll, tax roll,
No,
or?
that's gonna be consistent with the others. The cost thereof may be placed on the lot or parcel's tax roll and collected as provided by the township charter.
We just want these words to be,
Yep.
they seem like we're nitpicking here, but the tax roll part got a lot of people angry. I got a lot of calls about the tax roll, and they're gonna put something on my, so we wanna do it right. People were worried that we were gonna be billing them for things. So that's all right.
And I assume, Chuck, this is gonna work the same way as, I mean, right now we have a noxious
Weeds.
noxious weed ordinance. And, I mean, I think we do it very well, right? Our ordinance officer goes out and explains to people that, especially at the beginning of the summer, some vacant lots or lots under development, they start to grow grass and weeds, a foot high, 2 feet high. The ordinance officer will knock on their door, will explain that they need to get it cut. We'll give them a warning, we'll give them a second warning. And if they don't comply, then at that point, we go in and we cut it and we bill them. And if they don't pay, then we put it on their tax roll.
All right, I still have more.
Yeah, and with
Page
any-
121.
And hold on, and with any ordinance that regulates, whether it be grass or weeds or trees like this, we're not doing this to raise money, as you know, Chuck. I mean, we don't make money on this
It's a
stuff.
pass-through.
We lose money, and the last thing we do, and Kevin will testify to this as well as our ordinance officer, our goal is always compliance. It's not enforcement, and it's certainly not punishment. What we want to do is work with homeowners to rectify the situation and do it at minimal expense and grief for both the homeowners and the township. Because anytime we spend in court on something is a huge waste of money and time.
Well, also to add to that, if I understood it right, suppose somebody has, 12 acres and it's heavily wooded, and if there's a dead tree in the middle of the stand of woods, it isn't harmful. We're not gonna go and
Right, no,
order them to cut
it would
down.
be if it presents an imminent or
Yeah,
not necessarily a hazard,
A hazard.
not necessarily imminent, I want to take that back, but it presents a hazardous situation.
yeah, like it's
But
over the sidewalk or something.
Yeah, or it's overhanging a neighbor's house or something like that. So what we would do in a case like that, which frankly we've been doing, is you knock on the door and you say, hey, come on, what can we do
Right.
here, Because we certainly don't want to be in the tree trimming business. Okay,
So,
Chuck.
in the
Oh,
tree
sorry.
trimming business, I have a question that was asked of me, and I don't know the answer to that. Suppose you have a really old, large oak tree, as an example, a huge oak tree, and the branches go into your neighbor's yard.
They can cut them
They can cut them.
at the property line.
Are you entitled, or are you obligated to trim them if the neighbor doesn't want them overhanging their property?
My understanding that you can trim a neighbor's tree branches if they're overhanging your property. And
But it's not the obligation of the neighboring
Tree owner.
property owner
Yeah,
no,
if the tree's hanging, my tree's hanging on your roof,
right.
I'm not obligated to trim it, but it'd be neighborly to do that, but you don't have to. The neighbor, if you don't like it on your roof, cuts it off at the property line.
Right.
Yeah, except that it could open you up to some liability later on. That's an argument to be made, that your tree caused damage to their property.
It's still the way that works with insurance. If the tree falls on your roof, it's your problem, even if it was the neighbor's tree.
True. And then the second question that came out of that, I'm sorry, I'm digressing a little bit, but I know we need to address this, the issue of trees not being trimmed over sidewalks that is at the height of somebody on a bicycle particularly, and they're getting whacked in
You
the
get
head.
clotheslined at night.
3 clowns on unicycles going down the sidewalk.
I'm sorry.
well, I think our height limits with respect to sidewalks and corner clearances, Laura, you can take another look at that, but I think we're within the not normal standards of that.
15 feet, a fire truck can make it at 15 feet.
No, it's 8 feet over the sidewalk.
Over sidewalk.
I thought it said 15 in there, that
I
we
think that
lined
was
it out.
street,
That's the street side.
above, 15 feet above the roadway surface.
That's the roadway. The sidewalk side is 8 feet.
8 feet.
Okay,
Let me- and
Let's
I'll-
find it. Well,
Okay,
Right here. 8 feet above the surface
There you
of the
go.
sidewalk.
Yeah, sidewalk, yeah.
and we've had situations, I know, Jerry, you and I were in a situation where we had a house where, and, you know, the owner was going through a tough time. They were,
Right.
had some illness issues, and they had branches that were just, you know, like 4 feet
4 feet off the ground, yeah.
And again, we sent the ordinance officer out. We worked with the individual, and she got some family members to basically come out and pay for the tree trimming.
well, you raise an issue there. If it's a street tree owned by Wayne County, who's responsible for cutting it to 8 feet?
It would be, well, you are ultimately responsible for the maintenance of the tree that's in the easement, because the county certainly does not have the ability to do that. The county will come out and remove a diseased or dead tree. It takes forever to get them to come out to do it, but we've been fairly successful in doing that.
So they generally will not trim above a sidewalk, the county.
I
They
would
will
say
trim-
only if it presented some kind of imminent
right.
health and safety hazard.
They'll trim if it's above the road?
Yeah, I mean, they will. We would have
We
to
can be
contact,
on.
You have
we'd
to
have to
call them.
contact them, they'd have to
Get a
come
ticket
out, we'd have
number.
to do an SRN number and all that. And we've seen that happen. Okay, Chuck, anything else?
Okay, yeah, there's, page 12, 121 of the PDF, 98.12, section A. I think the word is affected, not effected, but makes you remember back to 7th grade English class.
Yes.
I think I changed that.
So I think the
Somebody
word is
caught me on
affected.
that one. I think Sue Brams caught me on that one. She's
You paid attention
a
in school.
stickler. She's a stickler. And I know she's watching, so.
Okay, let's go to page 15, which is page 124 of the PDF. Section 98.15, 98.15.
Yes.
Second, the paragraph talks about, and shall pay fair market replacement into the tree fund per,
Heritage.
how are you defining fair market replacement of, say, a 50 or 80-year-old red oak? How do you value that?
You can't.
The tree is worth probably $5,000 or something.
Yeah, you can't.
So what are you doing? How do we do it?
That's you, Laura.
You receive a quote from a certified landscape architect.
Of what it's worth? It could be worth $5,000.
Well, how do you value that? It takes 50 years to grow a 50-year-old tree.
I think they were looking to just replace it at the cost of what that tree would cost if it was new.
I don't
That
think
was my
that's what this
understanding.
means. Well, we need to talk about it.
We're going to be putting together at the next meeting, you'll have the fee schedule, and then we'll flesh that out. But,
Fair market replacement.
Well,
You know,
my understanding was, I can't go and put an 80-inch tree, I can't go get one and put it, my understanding was it was going to be, what does that tree cost in a plantable, 3-inch?
Well, it needs to be clear, so
Sure.
we don't have anybody.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah.
so what we're
And I read
trying,
it the opposite way, which means
Yeah.
there could be some
Yeah.
nebulous,
Yeah, that'd be unreasonable.
because
I
a
didn't even
tree
think of
that's,
that.
a red oak that's 50 years old
we can,
is worth a lot of money.
we can come up with some, a formula. I know that there are what other communities do, but I think we know why we want to have this in here. This is again for a bad actor who does not follow the rules, who does not, a bad developer, who does not follow the rules, and we want to make sure that those individuals are, that they pay into the tree fund in a suitable amount that will reflect the damage that's been done. And we've seen that happen in the township in the last couple of years, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it just has to be reasonable, so we didn't end
Yeah.
up in a Canton Township situation.
Yeah, well, we're not.
Go to page 116, 125 of the PDF. 98.16, the Township Administrative Review Committee. What is it?
The Township Administrative Review Committee consists of
Building.
the building department, the planner, the, who else?
Engineer
The engineer,
and the chair of the planning
the
commission.
chair of the planning commission, but not the supervisor. I'm still sore about that. So,
Is this in, the definition of that in here? I might have missed
no,
it.
it's in another ordinance. We created the Administrative Review Committee by ordinance.
By ordinance, about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to do it for review, for people who were questioning,
Building
stuff, yeah. We had Mark Lewis, who was our first person in it, and so we didn't have one before, and so we created it.
Okay, so that's who that is.
And we wanted to create it by ordinance because we were kind of winging it.
Right.
By virtue of adopting the BOCA code, the building code. The building code does contain an administrative review committee, but we wanted to,
Define it.
tighten it up and.
So there is
better-
no elected official on the Administrative Review Committee?
Nope.
Nope.
I'm a little concerned about that.
Okay.
Because in the end, the Township Board is responsible for what employees do. Anyway, let's.
Well, it's
I
not
don't
a-
know, I don't have an answer on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's not kind of an oversight board. It's to resolve
Administrative.
disputes under the administrative code of the building code of ordinances. And every community that has the BOCA code has some form of administrative review committee. It's
We're not-
required.
We
it's
don't
re-
use BOCA code anymore.
It's required for
We
due
just-
process. Well, we'll use the,
Building code.
Yeah.
the building
What it's
code.
called now.
All right.
Us
Whatever
old
the
peop- us
official
old
code
people
is.
always say BOCA.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, Chuck?
All
we're
right, that's
on
what I have for
page
now. Let
125.
somebody else have some discussion. Those
All
are
right.
just administrative things. so.
Okay. Anybody else on the board?
I just have a couple things. First of all, whoever made those signs, they were awesome. Don't tread on my trees. And you know what? A lot of times people think, oh my gosh, here they go again. I commend you for doing that because it got the word out. We needed to get the right word out, not the wrong word out. So you see today the efforts, the collaborative efforts, not only of this board, but also of you, the residents of the township, have come now to get to this sixth draft that we all can live with. And I thank you for that. The only question I have is going to be on page 118, and it says removal and replacement of street trees, role of county. So it says the first sentence under A, should a property owner wish to have a street tree, also referred to as an easement or right-of-way tree, adjacent to his or her property removed, he or she shall submit a request in writing to the Township Building Department, which shall refer the request to the Wayne County Department of Public Services. We all know that sometimes Wayne County does not act as efficiently as we would prefer them to. I just want to make it known if this is something that the citizen has to do, that they're not going to experience any problems with a delay on the part of the county. I mean, I certainly have had delays in the county, and you know, I just want to make sure that our department is
Yeah.
working with the citizens to make sure that they know it's not their fault for having a delay in the process.
It's county.
If you have a dead or diseased tree on your county easement, then you would normally call our office or the building department. It is assigned what's known as an SRN number with the county. The county will go out someday and take that tree down. It can take years.
Okay.
So don't call the county directly, is what you're saying?
No, I would recommend that you contact the supervisor's office or the building department, because eventually it will come to the supervisor's office. We then get the SRN number. We then basically badger and hound
So you have a spreadsheet,
the
a
county
tracking sheet.
commissioner. Yeah.
You're going to develop a tracking sheet that you're going to have to open issue it all the time.
Yep.
Most of them will always, rarely will there be a close tab.
Oh, no, we have closed tabs.
We have closed tabs.
And then
It's got to be hounded, you know.
And then we have, every month, we have a meeting, a virtual meeting with the county commissioner, and we go through all the open items.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, let's open it up to the public comment on this item. 3 minutes.
Several of us in this room that live in the Beacon Hill subdivision or travel through there. I had the ordinance officer out, there's some I got in an accident, I guess most of you know that, last year. And even though it complied, I helped him measure it, it complied with the ordinances, but still it's a special situation. I don't know how we handle something like that, but we can't see pulling out of that road and the cars are coming up there at 65 miles an hour. And it's a very dangerous intersection.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we could cover something like that in an ordinance.
What's the intersection again?
It's at Beacon Hill Drive and Ann Arbor Trail, and they're heading east.
It's on the westbound side of the road is the problem. The trees are on the westbound side of the road.
Yeah, the
Between the sidewalk and Ann Arbor Trail.
Yeah, between Glenview and,
Sidewalk there.
This is Glenn.
Keep going.
yeah, a little bit further up. See it hanging over up there? A little bit further.
Oh, there it
It's
is.
just a
more.
bunch of tree of heaven.
Right in there, right there.
This is Glenview?
No, that's Beacon Hill.
That's Beacon Hill.
Turn right, hold
Right here,
stop.
right here, where he's had his camp.
No, go back to Beacon Hill.
Go back to Beacon Hill.
This is Beacon
Now
Hill.
that tree right there, see it?
It's not one tree, it's a
No,
bunch
it's a
of,
bunch of bushes.
they're tree of heaven, which is one of our
Is it on
outlawed
private
trees.
property or is it on the county easement?
It's on the county easement.
In the county, but even then.
Right in there.
Even if they trim it back, if it complies with the ordinance, you still can't see that. And there's people in this room, maybe you guys can raise your hands when they're in there.
Well, you'd have to go farther west. You'd have to remove the brush moving west
There.
for
See where that
maybe
car
another
is, yeah.
25 or 30 feet.
So the other thing is, my son had a tree, the neighbor's tree was encroaching all over his yard. I think the best thing to do is go and talk to the neighbor. He's, no, I don't want you doing that. He came out and trimmed the tree, it was beautiful, so you might want to check with your neighbors.
Always best.
With a police situation, so that's all I have.
Okay.
I don't know how you can handle that corner.
Well, maybe we can go out and trim it and bill the county. You never know. But we can't do it until the ordinance passes. Okay.
Well, that's
Anybody?
one thing. You bring up a good point. We have had a problem in the past where rumor was that our township supervisor was going on private property and trimming trees at the township expense. We don't want that if somebody's really
Not me.
excited about a tree. We can't help them if it's on private property.
No.
I don't trim my own trees, okay, so it's like that clear. Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. My name is Damon Kruger. I'm a member of the Environmental Leadership Commission. I know I've seen a bunch of you at our meetings, so thanks a lot for taking the time to come out, and hopefully you'll continue to do so. Just a reminder for that, we do meet the fourth Monday of every month, so that's going to be in 13 days. So the next time that you come out, you can ask us whatever questions that you want. That's, in fact, one of the things that I wanted to talk about really briefly is just what our goal is as the commission. And really, we're tasked with actually the education of the community for all environmental matters and topics that may affect township residents. And as members, we do support the creation and adoption of a new tree ordinance, as long as it's fair and representative of our township's citizens. I think as we've seen, hopefully you've read the original ordinance and you've seen how woefully inadequate that actually is for our current needs. The recent township surveys that we've had over about the last year or so have really shown that residents prefer to have more tree cover, more green space, and more natural surroundings. So I think this goes a long way towards protecting those and getting towards the ideals of the residents themselves or ourselves. The original tree ordinance, as we've seen, it did very little to dissuade developers from clear-cutting parcels of land, and lack of clearly stated penalties actually made assessments on those same developers very difficult. So to me, and I think to a lot of you, what I've gleaned, at least so far today especially, is that the new proposed ordinance appears to have been drafted for really two purposes. One of those, the way that I see it, is to codify the regulations around tree preservation, maintenance, and removal as it relates to developers. And then the second part is really, I think, to serve as guidance to private landowners. So although no permits are required and no penalties would be assessed to private landowners, the regulations can be viewed kind of as a set of best practices. So this is, again, how I view it, and hopefully how maybe you could view it as well, in terms of what should you plant, what should you do if you need something removed, et cetera. If you have questions, now you know maybe where to come to. Obviously, this meeting, Environmental Leadership Commission meeting, we might be able to sort some things out as well, and hopefully also be in close contact with an arborist where necessary. It's very understandable that there was some unhappiness around the proposed ordinance, the original proposed ordinance, especially because the newest version at that time had not, I'm sorry, especially if the newest version has not been read, right? Because the earliest draft was actually a template from a neighboring community. It didn't represent the goals of the township, and it really stirred quite a lot of confusion and some anger amongst residents, and I think that's very understandable. And since then, we know that several drafts have actually been published, and public comments and concerns have been incorporated, as Kurt has shared with us. And therefore, the current draft, I think, the proposal anyway, does a much better job at capturing the ideals of the township's residents. And again, I'm really glad to hear from people that have come up and shared that with us. So thanks very much for doing that. And again, I'll close by saying that the ELC, we're very happy to address any questions or concerns that arise from the ordinance or any other environmental topics of interest. And not tonight, of course, but in the appropriate forum. So again, just wanted to invite you to join our meetings on the fourth Monday of every month. And thanks a lot.
Okay, thank
Probably
you.
went over my time.
Yeah.
One question from 98.17. It says, "The tree board shall be responsible for advising the township on matters pertaining to the protection, preservation, and reforestation of the township public and private tree canopy." Should private be contained in that? Because I thought the tree board was solely for public.
Well, let me look at
What page is
the,
that out of the PDF?
125.
yeah, it says the tree board shall be responsible for advising the township on matters pertaining to the protection, preservation, and reforestation of the public, township public and private tree canopy, trees, and woodlands.
So I thought they were only
Well, what if you're a
supposed to advise
developer?
on public.
What if
because-
you're a developer?
Yeah.
Those are considered, that would be a
Oh,
private tree.
private is a developer as well.
I mean, this
Okay.
is just kind of boilerplate language.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not
All
a
right.
mandate.
The other question I had, and this was just a general thought that occurred to me when I was reading over the ordinance, and it has to do with public property and tree canopy. If there was some way to give incentives for public people to plant trees and guidance into what, to give incentives and work collaboratively with public property.
Well, we do,
That's all and maybe that would be an environmental commission type of thing to take up, because.
Well, in the last couple of years, we've revived the free tree program. Last year, I think we distributed about 50 odd trees. 63?
63, I think.
How does that work again?
Well, what we do, Bob, is we advertise it in the township newsletter, we advertise it on e-news, and then we ask residents to apply for a free tree. The trees are paid for out of the tree fund, so that's how that works. And then the individuals, they send the letter actually to Sarah Weissel, who was here earlier tonight. She goes through it because sometimes you have to have the tree in the easement, or what are some of the other requirements, Laura? I forget.
It can't be in your backyard.
Yeah.
It can't be above a utility or next to a fire hydrant.
It has to benefit the public in some way. So typically what we're looking at is those county easements, and the county is okay with that. You know, it's sort of a blanket blessing and approval that they give us. But we also distribute trees to homeowners associations if they ask for it, and then they'll plant those in their common areas. And we're finding out that that's more of we're getting more requests from the HOAs. But we're getting a lot from everybody. I think this year we're turning people away who have requested trees.
What I was looking at was public land, so not private land.
Well, we've
More public, like, you know, businesses and.
Well, sure, like, for example, again, last year with the Wabasto trees, we got 180 trees from Wabasto as part of their project. All of those trees were planted on either township property or school district property.
But you're not referring, when you say public land, you mean publicly owned land?
Right, like.
Not.
Like businesses and,
Well, the
you
business
know,
would
I
not
mean.
be public land.
Okay, private, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking, when you drive around Plymouth Township, what do you notice? It isn't really homeowners that don't have trees. It's really more like business, those kind of people that have maybe.
Those are still private property.
Right, yeah.
Which is
So that's what I.
Okay.
That's what I.
Commercial properties, what you meant to
Commercial,
say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Anyways, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right, then I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I have a couple of other questions.
Go ahead.
Laura, the scenarios that I talked to you about this afternoon, the scenario is, I purchase a home, I decide to tear it down, and I want to build a new house. Are there any of these provisions in here, am I subject to these provisions in here for me cutting down any trees on that property?
No, you are not a developer.
Are you going to sell it to somebody?
No, I'm not going to flip it, I'm going to live in it.
Oh, okay. You're not a developer then.
Right.
You're not for sale.
Now, the other side of that is what's going on in Green Meadows, where builders are coming in, buying houses, tearing them down.
Correct.
Are they subject to these provisions?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're developers.
Because they're going to flip the house, or not a house, they're going to build a house and sell it.
Right.
So they will be subject. So a person that sent the email about their deck, they wanted their thing read into the record, is what they said today at 4 o'clock. Person by the name of Cordy,
Didn't see it.
Barbara Cordy. Anyway, she asked about, she has 3 acres, and if her deck, she wants to expand her deck, and she has to cut down some trees, is she affected?
No.
Okay, good.
Unless they're heritage trees.
No, even if they're heritage
No,
trees.
even if they're not on private property.
If my backyard has a 50-year-old red oak, and I want to expand my deck, I can cut it down without a permit and without any interference from Plymouth Township. Correct?
Correct.
All right.
We hope that you will incorporate the tree, though, into your landscaping and maybe build your deck around the
Right, I
tree.
agree.
I think that would
That's
be
what I
really
do.
neat.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
that's what
Okay.
I do.
Then we're on the same page. Okay, anything else? No, hold on. We're board comments. Hold on. No. If you have a question, you got to come up here, and you got 3 minutes.
So you can come up in a minute when we're
Yeah,
done.
I just said
right?
that.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Chuck, do you have any other questions?
No, those
Okay.
scenarios
Okay.
were what
Okay.
we wanted to clarify.
So do you have a question? You can come forward, and I'll give you 3 minutes. You're all set.
It's not exactly a question, I think it's.
Well, wait till you get up there so we can hear you.
I think it's more a point of information.
I think the answer to your question, Chuck, is correct. The deck owner would not fall under the tree ordinance, but would they not fall under the zoning or building?
Oh, yeah.
And is there some language there about trees relating to new construction?
Only setbacks
Or
and-
renovations?
Well, you're right, it would be building for setbacks, but not for trees. The building ordinance for additions and has nothing that I know of for trees. So they would be.
I don't know what that says with respect to decks. I don't know. I don't think trees are taken into consideration.
Yeah, decks and additions, and an existing property. I've never seen the trees be part of the township's purview and permitting process.
Okay,
Unless I don't know something, but
no,
we don't want any surprises, right?
nope,
The building official's not here.
nope. Okay, I move to approve the first reading of the Township Tree Ordinance and to further schedule the second reading and adoption to occur on July 27th, 2021 at the regular scheduled Board of Trustees meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Monahan. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Clerk Corba, yes. Excuse me. Trustee Stewart.
No.
Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Trustee Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All righty, thank you very much. Next up is more public comment, limited to 3 minutes. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on to board comments. Bob Dorchevitz.
Nothing here.
John Stewart.
Nothing.
Okay, Jerry.
Just wanted to let everyone know that the golf course is doing very well. And just this past month, we had a kind of a banner month. And so far this year, we've had a banner year. And so just want to let everyone know that that's going on, something that this board did. And of course, want to thank Treasurer Clinton for all of his work on the golf course situation. So it's going very, very well. And it looks like, again, we're going to have money that we will be getting that we would be able to, if we wanted to put back into that asset. So that's very good.
Okay. Mark Clinton.
All set.
Okay, Audrey.
All set, thank you.
Chuck Hermy.
May we have a brief summary of the township sidewalk replacement status and the gap, just where they are and where the projection is?
Sure.
And when they think they're going to be completed?
Yeah, Jeremy has let us know that I think they're just about done now with Lake Point. You live there, John? I think they're wrapping things up.
Well, I'd like to thank the people of Lake Point. The facts are, all slabs were removed by May 20th. All slabs were not replaced until June 30th. It was an obstacle course to walk, jog, and now I'm happy to see seniors pushing walkers. Everybody is using the sidewalks now, but that was quite a gap. And we felt like we were last to have the attention, and not to give him any credit, but Trustee Kermy did ask for an accountability a couple months ago, and we were last from May 20 to June 30. And that was a gap of liability, too.
Okay, so we're fixing sidewalks. Anyway, my question was, are they done in Lake Point? And I guess they're done in Lake Point. Okay, so they're done in Lake Point. We're actually going to start moving on now for next year, for the next round of sidewalk projects.
So what is next year?
Next year is what's known as Zone 2. We have a map, and it's pretty much everything south of North Territorial and east of, I want to say McClumpha, all the way down to Joy Road. So that would be like Ann Arbor Road corridor and all that jazz in through there. But yeah, to answer your question, Chuck, yeah, they're just about done at this point. They're doing punch list items. Sidewalk gap, though, is still they're still working on that along North Territorial.
All right. Just a quick thing about the tree ordinance. In the 28 years that I've been associated with the Township Board, I've never seen a more controversial item. So I want to we need to take it away as a lesson learned of how we handle completed staff work, bringing ideas, and not getting off on a tangent that hasn't had all of the background vetted. I know everybody had different intentions, and I know I'm the one that always says, use other people's good ideas, but with that comes, you need more than one idea. So you would prepare the documentation with several ordinances, and you'd have a recommendation and a background and whatever, but we need to take it away as a lesson learned, and I think we learned one, so.
It's not like appointing Shannon Price to supervisor or anything. That wasn't controversial.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. All right, I got a few things. Our next meeting is July 27th. We have several items on the agenda for that night. Let me just recap some of them real quick. We have We have some easements on Joy Road, sidewalk easements, an appointment to the Historic District Commission. We have the annual Watua budget presentation, the second ordinance, second reading of the tree ordinance, Homeland Security, MOU, we'll talk more about that in 2 weeks, and then Mark Clinton will have the pension and OPEB annual report. Okay. A couple other things. We have Thursday, we have an MDOT meeting with the director of MDOT, Paul Ajegba. Yes, and he will be here with his staff to talk about the I-275 project. That has already begun, and it's a 4-year project, so we're having a town hall meeting here on Thursday from 3:30 to 5 in this room. We have, I think the biggest issue that we're grappling with right now, it's not trees, it's trash collection, and GFL is struggling across Michigan. Right now, they are competing with the federal government, who is paying people to stay home, and it's impossible to compete with the government. And so, and let's face it, being a trash collector is not an aspirational job. So as soon as people get a better job, they're moving on somewhere else. Same thing is true with the trash truck drivers. These individuals have to be CDL certified. They have to be licensed to be driving heavy, dangerous vehicles on the road. As soon as they get that training and spend some time with GFL, they're on their way to a trucking company, which pays more, and it's a lot cleaner job. So they're really struggling right now to attract and retain employees. Even despite their challenges, we have, through Kevin Bennett and Sarah Weissel, we're beginning to fine and penalize GFL pursuant to our contract that we have with them. Some might think that's unfair, but we have to show them our displeasure, because we certainly get the phone calls and the complaints every day. We do read all the emails, we do answer all the phone calls, and we keep a running log of the complaints. And it's if it makes you feel better, we're not the only ones. It's happening in Canton and Northville and all the other GFL communities. So we continue to monitor that situation. Also, just for your information, Superior Township did prevail in their lawsuit against Salem Township and Robert Shostak with respect to the Salem Springs project. So as of today, they cannot drill a sewer line through Superior Township to the Ypsilanti treatment facility. So they have very limited options. One is they can tie into the Watua system. That is technically not feasible. It's from an engineering standpoint, it's not possible. From a political standpoint, it's not going to happen. We have said to you consistently that we will not allow Shostak to tie into the sewer system, and so you have our promise on that. Their only other option would be for continued litigation, or they have to build their own wastewater treatment facility in Salem Township, which is going to be very expensive. They have $20 million of free taxpayer money, and they can spend it on just about anything they want at this point. So they may spend that money on a treatment facility. So we continue to keep in touch with our neighbors to the west on that one.
Haven't they spent most of it already on
No.
water line?
They've spent about I would say $2.5 to $5 million on the water line.
I thought 10 million of it got frozen.
I don't believe it ever did. There was talk about that, but I don't know if they ever did that. So they got 20 million. And that's all I've got.
Are you at liberty to give us any good news or update us on Northridge, the rezoning?
No, the rezoning failed at the last meeting, and there may be another, I don't know, has there been another submission for that property? No. Just a lot of internet chatter at this point.
Kurt? Go ahead.
I have a background with John Pastor, having served in the legislature, and our offices were next door to me. And I suggested to Mr. Gonzalez directly, and I understand he is pursuing a compromise proposal. And I hope to see that where there is a quote-unquote acceptable number of homes, and Lord knows I have said delicate compromise and consensus.
I think our
And I
board
think
said that last
there
time.
may be, excuse me?
Our board was in agreement of a compromise before. We talked to him about a compromise.
Okay, excuse me, let me finish. I think he's coming to have something to put on the line, on the table. So I hope we can encourage from the supervisor's office and this coming together And I know you worked with Mr. Pastor, and certainly I have a lot of respect for Mr. Gonzalez, but I directly approached him, and so,
Anyone who has a rezoning request or a project for that corner can submit it through
Sure.
the normal channels, and they'll go before the planning commission and ultimately to the board.
Kurt, I have a question about Rescue Act. Around the state, some municipalities or counties are asking for citizen and business input for ideas for how to spend Rescue Act money, and then they're making it look like there is an application process to the state or to the feds. Do you know?
There is a form that you have to fill out to request your money from the state.
So are we doing that?
Yeah, we've done it.
We've already done it?
Yeah.
All right. MTA has been doing some trainings and things, so we're plugged into that.
Ginger made the request, I think, yesterday or Friday. It was Friday.
Friday. Okay, I think the deadline is sometime in July.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
No, we've already made the request.
I did not know you had to put in an application until I happened to see some ad in an upstate, up north newspaper.
Yeah, you don't have to tell them what you want to spend the money on yet. You just have to, you apply the formula that they have, and then you have to make your request. So we're supposed to get about $2.8 million.
All right, so we're in. Okay,
Yep.
Good.
so the second reading of the
Check us
tree
in the mail.
ordinance will be on the agenda 2 weeks from tonight. We get a second crack at the back, and Chief Titterington's prayer will be answered, that we are going to stop arguing about dogs and trees.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by trustee Stewart. Is there a second? Second. Second by clerk Vorba. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Turn your mics off.